Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for dropping by Jenny's Wong page. I'm Jenny's Wong, and today is my travel around the world with a digital business series. It's my last two interviewer, and today it's my pleasure to have Debbie. Debbie is from Canada, but she's Japanese by origin. Yeah, and let's have Debbie introduce herself.
Hi everybody. Hi, my name is Debbie Alexander and I am originally from Japan and now I live in Oliver, BC, Canada. I've been in North America for probably nearly 40 years, so I've been here for a long time. And I have two grown-up children and I have a Portuguese husband and I have a dog named Leo. But right now here in Oliver, I only have my husband and Leo with me. And I used to be a realtor. I still have a license, but I'm not selling houses anymore thanks to my online business. And I've been doing my online business for last close to 3 years. It's going to be 3 years in February.
Wow, 3 years. That's a long
Yes.
journey. Okay, so how did you get to know about this digital business 3 years ago?
Okay. Well, I wasn't looking for any other job or I wasn't looking for anything online, particularly not online because I was so scared because I was a realtor who handles a big money, right? So I didn't want to get involved with any scams or anything like that. I was really being careful what I associate with. However, my husband owned a restaurant and I was a realtor. We had super busy lifestyle. Like, I was very successful realtor, so I was very busy. And whenever I have time, I was helping my husband. And though I was with my husband, I felt like, we were not spending quality time. We were just working together. So, I wasn't happy and I was keep asking God, was this the way that I supposed to live, or is there any better way? Is there any solution? And I was just scrolling down on Facebook one day, and then I saw this ad on the Facebook, and this ad was written by a Japanese, and then she mentioned that after she started this online business, she was able to spend 3 months in Japan, spending her time with her family back home, and also her husband, who was a chef, traveled with her and spent 3 months together in Japan. And I was going like, what the heck, how can they do that? So I sent a message to this lady. She says, just watch the webinar. So I watched the webinar, and that was the beginning of my journey.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you watched the webinar, like how you chance upon the lady that you chance upon,
hmm
and after watching the webinar, what makes you want to join the business?
Okay, so actually, I knew her on a Facebook. We were not friends or nothing like that. It was like just the acquaintance because Japanese community in Vancouver is very small. So I knew her, and she was saying that she was making good money while she was traveling. Her business grew, and she was very happy. So I watched the webinar, and then I got so excited. Not only hear her story, but there were other business owners who are sharing their own journey on a webinar, and then I got really inspired. So I went to the next step right away. I even didn't wait for the live. I watched the recorded one. So as soon as I registered for the webinar, I watched the recorded webinar right away, and I signed up right away. I couldn't wait to start.
Amazing, amazing. So, you are another one that you were not skeptical or you didn't hesitate.
No.
You just went straight with your gut feeling that this is for you.
Exactly, because for me, I believe everything happens for the reason. I wanted to have a solution, and then I saw that ad, and then that I felt something because I'm 100% sure I have seen so many ads before, but none of them attracted me because I was skeptical about online things. Overall, I thought everything was, scam, right? S- However, this particular ad, because it was written by somebody I knew, I felt something, and I watched the webinar, and then my heart was moved. I was so excited. I knew that was the sign because I was keep asking for God to show me the way, and then I knew that was the way. So I had no doubt.
Wow. Okay. So in the I just take a look at all the comments. We have Elaine. Hi, Elaine. Good morning. We have Rebecca. Hi. Hi, Rebecca. Good morning. Yeah. Also, Elaine was saying, I feel your excitement, Debbie. I was the same when I watched the webinar too. Okay. For
Yeah.
me, it's a bit different because after watching the webinar, I still ask a lot of questions, and I was not very sure if it's for me because well I shared in my previous interview before that I had the experience of being scammed online. That is why for me I wasn't very clear, or I had the doubt because of my previous experience. So but I'm glad that before you, I actually interviewed Lina. Lina is actually in US, but she's originally from China. So she's also another one who didn't have that, and then she just jumped in, and I could feel the excitement from your end. It's like so amazing, because I didn't have a feeling. Like we check and check and check, and we did a lot of check and asked a lot of questions
Mm-hmm.
before I even did sign up for the 30 days trial. Yeah, but then it's amazing to hear people that didn't have that and just joined in. So with that 3 years journey that you have been in this business, right? What changes do you see after this long journey? I only started like 1 year. I'm only
Mm-hmm.
with the business for 1 year, so you have been very experienced.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a lot of things has been changed in my life, but mostly I think I would say my personal growth. That the way that I look at things is completely different from before. Like before I started this online business, I was in a victim mind because I was thinking, why do I have to work so hard? Why all these things happens to me? Why I have so much burden on my shoulders? And then I was keep blaming for my husband's restaurant, what the circumstances I was in, or I was just keep blaming others. I didn't take responsibility for my own life. But as I started this journey as an online business, I learned my life. I own this my life to me. It's got nothing to do with other people. I am the one who has to change the course of my life. If I want to have a better life, I gotta do something for myself, right? So I learned all these things after I started this online business. And this, I gotta say to everybody, all your viewers, this is not like ordinary business. This business teaches you how to change your mindset. Mindset is something that you learn and you can take it to anywhere. Even you decide, you know, once you start this online business, I don't think you want to stop it. But however, if you want to do something else, you can apply what you learn within this community, within our training. You can take it to anywhere for rest of your life. And then I am so grateful that I started this online journey, and then I met so many wonderful people, inside of this community. I am so grateful for the training. And then even inside of the training, we have a section for mindset. I don't know any, like I worked in a corporate job too, but we never learn anything about mindset. Yeah. So mindset is one thing. And of course, we used to live in a city, but now we decided to live in countryside. And so we no longer have restaurant. We thank God we especially this pandemic, we no longer have a restaurant. I am no longer working as a realtor. I am 100% committed to my online business and helping my husband summertime. He does a food truck now.
Yeah, I agree with you that, things happen for a reason.
Yes.
Like, I was also sharing with in one of the interview, my parents, they also used to own a shop.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad has been holding on to the shop for 50 years.
Wow.
And, the landlord decided to stop the lease for a higher higher rental with someone else
Mm-hmm.
just before the pandemic started,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, my dad was very sad at that point of time, but then we then later realized that it was a blessing
Yes.
somehow, because if that didn't happen, my dad would have still hold on to the shop, and
Mm-hmm.
then he will be hit by the pandemic, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now he's actually very relaxed, and he's at home. He's still cooking. Um, he had a change after 50 years of being a store, right? Now he's cooking from home, and it's a very, very different kind of setup for him.
Mm-hmm.
So at 65, when he happened, it was 68. So at 68, he still did a change in terms
Mm-hmm.
of how how his daily routine it was
Mm-hmm.
for the past 50 years versus now the new kind of setup. So at his age, he also took a change,
Yeah.
right? And while I was in the corporate, I'm still in the corporate, but then I took a change because of this digital business. I took a lower pay job that is less stressful, right? So in the past, it was like really trying very hard to strive to climb up the corporate ladder in order just to have a higher monthly pay,
Mm-hmm.
right? But eventually, my health got affected because of the stress that I'm getting. So that was also a wake up call for me. Like, what have I been doing for the past 20 years? Like, I'm striving so hard for somebody's organization,
Mm-hmm.
but end of the day, it's really polishing the boss, no matter how hard I work, sometimes it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. Some people will have, good connections with your supervisor, and
Mm-hmm.
even though they are not performing well, you see them climb higher, right?
Yeah.
That's that's the that's the reality of working in a corporate, right?
Exactly. Like,
And
yeah, go ahead.
we are not saying that it's all the same in all companies, but where I'm coming from is I've been trying quite a few company, and I do see that trend
Mm-hmm.
in most of the company, right?
Yeah,
I
well,
landed in one company that I thought I could retire, but end up the company went bankrupt.
yeah, if you can stay and then you can retire, you are lucky. Because I used to work for a corporate job. I was a manager for a big Japanese travel agency, the branch in Vancouver. However, the branch closed. So I
Yeah,
got laid off, you know. So you just never know what could happen, right? So
mm,
it's always good to have a plan B at least. So you are ahead of everybody.
yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm lucky that I overcome the fear, and I
Yes.
still stepped in, even though I had bad experience online before,
Mm-hmm.
right? So thank you for all the sharing. So what do you have to share with our audience today? Like, what
Well,
message you want to give them?
well, if you are watching this right now, you are probably curious about online business, and then you are just not watching this for no reason. You are here for a reason. So what are you waiting for? Just sign up with Janice. Just at least watch the webinar and see how you feel. And if you feel like me, like so excited and want to get started right away, and then you can go ahead and go to the next step. If you are skeptical, that's okay, that's normal too. We have 30 days of grace period, so you can just check out things and you can do your own research. You can just find out everything about this online business, and then you can decide. You got nothing to lose. Like I was saying, I was very lucky that I have this right now, during the pandemic. It didn't affect us. However, some people just wait for something to happen, but you got to do your own your homework, on action. We can only show you where's the door, but you are the one who has to open the door. So
Yeah.
if you are interested in, ask Janice for the next step and she'll guide you through.
Yeah. So our details for myself and Debbie is actually scrolling at the bottom. If you are interested to, or even Debbie's sharing relates with you, you can also reach out to Debbie, and we are very glad to help you in terms of guiding you how you can also start your own digital business, just like how we did, right? And thank you very much, Debbie, for agreeing to join this travel around the world with a digital business series for me. And I really want to show our audience that this is really global. That is why I'm looking out for different countries from different people from different countries for the month of December,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'll catch up with you in our community, and then I wish that you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Right, and thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. And happy holidays to everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Yes.